get started. Good morning and welcome everybody to this webinar in the framework of a European project, the COSME project, which is called the AI4Diag. So the name speaks itself, but actually it's a project that aims at developing some new information and knowledge in the framework, of course, of diagnostics using AI4Diag techniques. So artificial intelligence that are devoted to develop solutions in the framework of diagnostics. AI4Diag is a project that's aimed at addressing all the issues related to SME development, and basically it's developed by 5 clusters around Europe. Our cluster, which is the cluster of Life Sciences of Tuscany, then there is the one of Aragon, Flanders, Tallinn in Estonia, and the Eurobiomed, which is the coordinator of the whole project. The project actually, as you will probably understand, will try and address some specific issues related to privacy, ethical aspects and legal aspects related again to diagnostics in the field of artificial intelligence applied to life sciences. So what the project aims to do is to address some specific questions that arise from SMEs and business ideas that want to develop some new considerations in the framework of the application of these new techniques to the diagnostic field. So basically, this is the outline of what the objective of the project is. So privacy, legal and ethical aspects of review, introduction to the AI, state-of-the-art of AI in diagnostics, structuring business models, and of course access to funding, which is basically the outline of what the project aims to do in the field of what let's say, is the activity that a cluster has to develop in this area. So the cluster that hosts today this event is Toscana Life Sciences Cluster, and so we are the managers of the Tuscan cluster for the life sciences in Tuscany, of course. So our foundation deals with business incubation. We are the cluster manager of the Tuscany region, and we support the Tuscany region in the framework of developing technology transfer and valorization of the results of research into the life sciences sector. I am very brief because I would like to leave the stage to the speakers. And first of all, to Francesco, who is our cluster manager, and he will go deep into details about what we are expecting from today and what is the project about, giving us a brief overview on the AI in diagnostics and healthcare. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea, for this nice introduction. I'm Francesco Mazzini. I'm the manager at the Tuscany Life Science Cluster, and I'm going to show you a brief overview of the AI application in diagnostics. First of all, a couple of definitions. What an AI system is, definition of AI, artificial intelligence, you can find many over the internet and from many people. I reported here the one given by the high-level expert group of the European Commission on artificial intelligence, who published documents about ethics guidelines on trustworthy AI. Going through the definition, an artificial intelligence system is generally a software that, given a complex goal, acts by perceiving the environment, by collecting data and processing this data by acquisition, reasoning, and finally making a decision for the best course of action to achieve the given goal. The expert also devised a simplified AI system, just to put the main 3 phases of any AI system. So there is the perception phase, in which the algorithm is fed with a number of data from whatever source you can imagine. The larger the better for the AI algorithms. Then there is the phase of reasoning, learning of the decision making, in which the algorithm tries to interpret and fit all the data to represent what you want, what you are studying and investigating, given the constraint you give to the system. And then there is the activation phase, of course. That could be a direct activation if the system is directly connected, like in driverless car, in which the AI system continuously decides how to move and drive the car, or could be a support for the actual performance of the action. So it's so-called decision support system. In our case, in healthcare, generally is that, and it is the physician, the final and the actual performer. Another couple definition of machine learning techniques terms. Just clarification, artificial intelligence techniques are a wide group. Machine learning is a subgroup of all the artificial intelligence techniques. Deep learning is another subgroup of machine learning techniques. A machine learning system in general involves training an algorithm to perform or to predict a specific task, or anyway, make prediction by learning from something, from a pattern you recognize in the data set you provided to the system, without explicitly being programmed. It learns by itself substantially. It's not a piece of code of software that executes a preordinate sequence of instructions. There are a number of different types of machine learning systems, depending on the function and the learning style. You maybe have heard about supervised and unsupervised differentiation in a learning system. Then there is the artificial neural networks. That is a machine learning technique inspired by how human brains learns and works. So it's made by a number of small processing units called nodes that mimics the neural network, and they are connected one to another, and in that way they are able to evaluate the complex relationship and correlations between data, identify these correlations through aiding layers of calculation, through a series of operations. This network generally adapts itself to the data set in best fitting the data, in the way at the end the system learns on its own how to represent the system. So it chooses some features, some characteristics, some parameters that the machine learning people call features to describe the system and give you the output, the desired output. Deep learning techniques are artificial neural network system composed by several layers of representation, called hidden layers. So the depth comes from the number of layers. Every layer between the inputs and the outputs use the information from the previous level to learn the optimal feature. Again, the characteristic the system should use to best define your problem during the training process. And with deep learning, you can use quite easily, it's a big term. Anyway, you can use and obtain a good result with unstructured data, with raw data. That's the power of deep learning. But deep learning architecture comes with a problem, the so-called black issues problem, because it is not possible to do this complex network to know how the system reasons, which kind of parameters the system chose at the end to give you that answer, so that conclusion. That could be a problem we will see at the end of this presentation. On the contrary, there are machine learning techniques that are substantially transparent. Anyway, it's possible to track relatively easily how the system provides you the information, the conclusion you reached. Coming to some example of application of AI in medical diagnostics, I reported here that the main field in which AI is powerful and proven to be quite powerful, so medical imaging. In fact, the first diagnostic domain in which AI is expected to be implemented on a large scale and in very few years is medical imaging. Medical imaging means ultrasound, radiology, MRI, etc., everything that comes with an image behind. Why is that? Because medical imaging techniques are widely used. Maybe the most used techniques in the medical field are essential tools to recognize, to diagnose, to monitor treatments, and they provide digital data. So that can be quite easily used by AI algorithms. And these data, moreover, are data-rich outputs, so are very interesting. In combination with this, AI techniques that apply on image interpretation and reading are already used in many other sectors than healthcare. So they are already being proven, they are continuously improving, and are so advanced and mature technologies. And in particular, in diagnostics, they already have been reported to interpret the images and provide the same, let's say, information, diagnosis that physicians would do. That's quite powerful. In addition to that, AI tools may also help the imaging professionals in a number of other levels. So by processing large amounts of data in short time, integrate information from other sources, digital sources, give you some optimization of the workflow by prioritizing patients, by managing all the workflow of the physician, helping him to predict clinical outcomes. Going more in details in the three main areas of medical imaging, so pathology, radiology, and dermatology, I report here some example to make clear the concept. Machine learning radiology can facilitate the automation of processing the image substantially. So it helps the physician to soon characterize the disease, identify, detect, and so they can speed up their work and do less errors. They can also extract valuable information, especially hidden information in the image, because images contains a lot of hidden data that now we are not able to use with our human eye, but the machine learning can go there and extract valuable information, the so-called radiomics. So there you can have an addition support. I reported here three examples, but there is a huge number of reports in radiology about AI applications. All these three examples improve the diagnosis and the early detection of a problem, of a disease. First one used the chest X-ray data for diagnosis of tuberculosis. The second one was the PET data for the early detection of Alzheimer's disease. The third, again, used MRI data to demonstrate a better accuracy than other techniques in the identification of Parkinson's patients. Moreover, radiology is one of the first examples in which we have already approved for clinical use AI applications, solutions. FDA approved some of them. The first one reported here, again, are all decision support system. The first one is assist the physician in the diagnosis of heart problems by providing a more accurate measurement of the ventricles volume. The second one is quite interesting because combines automation with the early detection. So you get a person that accesses the ER for a problem, you get a CT scan, and if the system sees something risky, there is a risk of a stroke, it immediately, automatically alert and engage a neurovascular specialist to take care about this potential risk of stroke. The last one is another decision support system about detection of stroke damage. So AI is already here. That's the message. Dermatology is another discipline in medicine that make a large use of image. The current application in AI are aimed at diagnosis and prevention and monitoring of skin disease. They are quite powerful, and they also can minimize the need of biopsy for melanoma, for instance. The example reported here basically say the first one that the algorithm can detect, like dermatologists, the same kind of disease, provide you the same answer. Here, this test, the algorithm provided the same ability. I see another test from IBM Watson last year that was even better than the dermatologist. The second one is an acute application in which by yourself, with your smartphone, you can take picture of your moles, and once in a while, and if the system sees some strange evolution of your moles, it automatically tells you, warn you, you have to go to the dermatologist to check this problem, to check this mole. Going to pathology, pathology is going through to digital pathology because it's quite useful, and it creates a large volumes of data, of digital data, of course it's a digital pathology, to recognize predicting patterns. So it can save a lot of time and automate a lot of time for the pathologist, like doing some complex and time-consuming tasks like quantification, tissue identification, characterization of the tissues, especially for cancer. And so minimizing the error and speeding up all the process of the image analysis. This is quite important because we are going to experience a pathologist shortage worldwide. So anything technique that can help and speed up and relieve and doing the job that pathologists do, it's quite desirable. Promising results have been obtained in a number of cancer using AI applications: breast cancer, prostate cancer, lung, and colorectal cancers. And there are many others. So it could be very powerful, and a lot of companies are working on this specific topic. So moving from classic pathology to digital pathology assisted by AI. There are, of course, other examples of other areas of the diagnostics, medical diagnostics, that use other techniques like speech and facial recognition, natural language processing, for instance, for mental disease, mental disorder diagnosis, recommendation based on symptoms you write or you tell the machine. let's say, your smartphone. Pathological pattern recognition. So the way you speak, the way you look, the system recognizes you may have a problem. The same approach used for medical imaging applies also for medical signal processing. So you can use ECG, EEG data, vital parameters for early detection or prediction of adverse and severe events. That is particularly important in critical care, where you have a number of disciplines, a number of data there that should be integrated to provide you the risk. AI has also been used in the biomarkers discovery field to help in the detection of new biomarkers. And in general, going to the healthcare, the same applies also for all the omics techniques. That's it's quite a good support for personalized medicine, for instance, identifying patterns, helping in the understanding of the human physiology, also in gene editing to optimize the best site for the editing of DNA. Also drug discovery. It's the old, for the chemist, it's the old medicinal chemist, it's the old QSAR and molecular modeling techniques to find the new drugs, new potential target. This is the evolution. AI here could be very powerful. And AI already proved to be quite powerful in the support for prediction and tuning of outcomes or response to specific treatment. So to optimize the treatment to patients. For instance, the drug dosage, but also other kind of process to go personal to the people with the support of AI. And it has been used, for instance, for patient stratification, target therapy, all the kind of personalized medicine approach, diabetes care, the pump, implanted pump for diabetes who regulates the insulin is generally as an AI system on the top. Also for surgical procedure planning to face it, to understand, to simulate the planning. And finally, I reported here also example of help in the surveillance of disease outbreaks. This is interesting because there the AI system combines social media data with analysis with emergency room access data, and so in that way they can predict if there will be with high probability an outbreaks in the next month, in the next days. And so the national, regional, and local system can prepare to face the outbreaks. All that said, it's quite clear why the market forecast for AI application and care are so good. Just look at the bottom, the summary. Market value foreseen is 13 to 36 billions by 2025, with an annual growth of about 40 to 50%. So a very shining future for any companies who will go there, apparently, at least. Because it's not all gold. There are still issues of AI implementation in the clinical practice. I reported here the most important, starting from image analysis reliability. There are still issues that you can find over the internet, the issues in which minimal image distortion provides a very evident flawed result as an outcome, something that also a child will see. So that's the technical issues I think will be solved in quite the near future. There is the bias problem. Risk still remains that depending on the data set you use, you can reinforce or incorporate bias in the system, in the AI system, and you may not know that because it's deep learning system, so you cannot see there. Can be geographical, can be race bias or other kind of bias, and that means that you cannot use that application to be scaled up to the real world settings. So we must find a way to avoid this. Connected to this is the data quality and training. Because to reach acceptable levels of accuracy and performance, the AI system requires large volumes of data. And the better the quality, the higher the performance. Moreover, for each condition, you need a specific data set. For each medical condition, you need a specific data set to train the system. So that could be a limit, but that limit is nowadays addressed by a number of private and public initiatives that are building a large database with high quality standardized specific data sets to boost the development of AI applications. Those are international, national, whatever. And you may find a number that make you available the data. There is still the problem of decision transparency. This is quite a problem of deep learning techniques that are quite powerful, but in our sector that you need to see through the steps of the decision to validate that is a problem. So the black box issues is a problem in our sector specifically, because you need to validate and compare the procedure. You need to check what happened. And this is also a challenging problem from a regulatory point of view. We are gonna see in one of our presentation. Last but not least, there is the problem of the clinician acceptance, and I would say also the patient acceptance. As all that given I say is true, you can think I can replace the physician at the end of the story. That's a problem, and there is a huge movement from among physicians to say, no, we have to collaborate with the AI system. We will not be replaced, but that's not so, let's say, sure. So the healthcare providers may perceive the AI system undermining their expertise, especially their jobs. In addition to this, it's very likely that the AI system will require new skills, new training from physicians to fully exploit those systems. So you need, again, training, and especially for maybe for the older one, it's not so good. So there is friction there for implementation of those systems. That's all from my side. I'm going to see what happens today. We are going to have in a few minutes the first presentation, starting with the first session. We have 3 sessions this morning. The first one, we are going to talk about ethical and legal aspects in development of AI-based solutions. Then we have a small coffee breaks and start about 12 with the health data handling and management session. And in the afternoon, we start again at 2:30 with the presentation of the Tuscan research group and companies working in AI to evaluate possible collaboration.